Beef enchilada from scratch, enchilada sauce from scratch. It wasn't hard. It didn't take long. It's a couple steps. The enchilada sauce was about 4 steps. Homemade. This took me maybe an hour total. From scratch. The family's going crazy. They cannot wait to eat it. If I can do this, you can do this. Trust me.
I can see the outline of your body shape.
I'm a dad.
Okay, you don't have to have a dad.
So enchiladas are one of my favorite things. I love Mexican food anyways, but enchiladas are probably the thing I order the most when I go out. They're phenomenal. I mean, you've got the meat and the cheese and a little hint of garlic and that amazing sauce that they put on top. But you can do it at home. It's not that hard to do it at home. It's only a few ingredients, a few steps. So I'm going to show you how today, and we can enjoy an enchilada that we made with our family. I think that's pretty cool. We're going to make an enchilada sauce from scratch. We're going to put that aside. We're going to make our filling, which will be meat, garlic, and onions, and chilies, and we will put that aside. Then we're going to take and we're going to build. We're going to wrap the meat onion mixture into corn tortillas, and we're going to cover it with our enchilada sauce. And then the final step is we're going to take that whole thing, cover it a little bit with cheese, bake it in the oven for about 30 or 40 minutes until the cheese is bubbly and a little brown, and we're done. It's a pretty simple process. We will be using these. As the base for our enchilada sauce. So let's start with our enchilada sauce, shall we? You'll need fresh Roma tomatoes for this recipe, about 3/4 pounds, or it ends up being about 3 to 4 tomatoes depending on the size that you have. Then measure out about 3/4 pound or 3 to 4 tomatillos. Take your tomatillos, peel the wrapper off, and de-stem them. Now, when you get the wrapper off, you'll notice there's a little bit of a sticky film on the outside of the tomatillo. Don't worry about that, that's normal. You just wash that off and you'll be good to go. Now take your Roma tomatoes and slice them in half lengthwise so that you have 2 equal halves. De-shell your garlic and clean up the mess. These are negro or black chili peppers. You're gonna wanna cut the stem off. And then we don't want the seeds, so we're gonna pour those out. Yeah, do what he just said. Yeah, pour out the seeds. You'll find that they don't all come out, so grab a pair of scissors, kitchen shears, and cut lengthwise down the entirety of the chili, and then you can scrape and pour out all the remaining seeds. Don't worry about getting them all out, just get out as many as you can. Now take your white onion, cut it in half, take that half and cut it in half to make a quarter. Take the peel off of the quarter onion and you're good to go. Now your dried chilies have been de-seeded and de-stemmed, and you can place them into a pot like this, right at the bottom. Now chuck your garlic in like that, and now you can take your onion and place it in. I've taken the onion and kind of peeled it apart so there's more surface area. Now place your tomatillos at the bottom of the pot on top of the rest of the vegetables and the chilies. Then we're going to take and fill the pot with water just to the top of the tomatillos. This is so we can take the Roma tomatoes and place them on top of the tomatillos, and then they can steam on top of the rest of the vegetables that will be submerged in the water. Now you can see I used a pot that might have been a little too big, and that's okay. If I used a smaller pot, it would just be easier to balance the tomatoes.
So that's pretty much it. We're gonna put it up on the cooktop. We're gonna get it to a boil, cook it at a simmer for maybe 5 to 10 minutes till those tomatoes start to soften. And we're gonna pull it off and let it sit for another 10 minutes. Chuck it in the blender, enchilada sauce. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You just have to have a couple ingredients like tomatillos and dried chilies. You could probably find those at if you have a Whole Foods near you or something like that.
Oh, don't forget to cover the pot.
So our enchilada sauce is in the works. Once this is done, we're gonna let it cool for a little bit. And meanwhile, we're gonna work on our filling, which is essentially beef, garlic, little green chilies, and onion. I can't remember that.
I'm guessing that most of you watching know how to chop an onion, but if you don't, it's pretty simple. Lay it flat. You're going to put 2 to 3 slits through it, like this. Then spin it around and put little slits or chops across the short ends, maybe about 7 or 8. Turn it sideways and then chop down on it, and you get nice little, I guess, dices. I'm making a mess, not doing the best job, but it works. So we have our pound of meat here. You can use a good brisket that's got some fat on it, or short rib. Then you're gonna slice the meat into little slices like you see here. And once you've got your slices, you turn each slice sideways so you can cut lengthwise. And what you want is 3 long, thin strips that are about 1 inch thick. Once you've cut your long, thin strips, then turn them sideways and cut 1 inch cubes from those strips. Looks something like this. And after you've done all of that, you should have a large pile of 1 inch cubes. I know it looks a little bit like they're big, but don't worry, when you cook them down, they will be just the right size. You can take your ground beef, your cut up beef, and your onions that you've chopped and put them all together, and then add them to a frying pan like this. I'm using a iron skillet or cast iron skillet. You can hear how awesome it sounds when it sizzles. To add your garlic, just create a hole in the middle of the meat and onion, and then once it becomes fragrant, you can then push it around in the meat and onion mixture, and that'll prevent it from burning. After everything's become brown, it looks a bit like this. You've got a nice meat and onion mixture that's ready to go. At that point, you can add your diced green chilies. Add the whole can, just make sure you drain the chilies ahead of time. And then you mix everything together. I've already turned the pan off, so at this point I'm not really cooking anything. I'm just trying to incorporate the green chilies into the mixture. And you get something that looks like this, which is your meat, onion, and green chilies. Looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Let's tend to our enchilada sauce. See what happens. All right, so you see there, everything looks pretty good. Tomatillos, nice and broken down. Our tomatoes are nice and mushy. So I poured everything into the blender, but we are gonna pour off the majority of this water. We don't want it. We're gonna really just mix together the vegetables and the onion. So as you see, for the most part, just the vegetables, maybe a little bit of liquid in there, nothing too crazy.
I'm really not sure what I should say here other than, yeah, this is stuff blending.
So instead of salt, I'm gonna use some chicken bouillon, just to add a little extra flavor. And there you go.
I mean, come on, look at that. Nice, deep, thick, bubbly, red deliciousness. I'm so ready to eat this. Put it on my enchiladas.
It's that simple. Homemade enchilada sauce, just a couple ingredients, a little bit of a quick boil, and then throw it in the blender. I think anyone can do this. If I can do it, right? You can do it. Right? Do it. See how it tastes. Now, it's as simple as just building. So we're gonna build our enchiladas. It starts with taking our homemade enchilada sauce, okay, and spreading it on the inside of the pan. Just cover the bottom of the pan with our enchilada sauce. Like so. All right, so the reason why I put the enchilada sauce into this big silver bowl is as such. We're gonna take our corn tortilla, you can use flour if you want, I like corn, and we're gonna dip it into the enchilada sauce, like that, and then put it onto our plate. And now we build.
So here's how the process goes. You're gonna dip your tortilla shell into that rich, beautiful enchilada sauce. You're gonna fill it with the meat mixture. You're gonna put pepper jack cheese on top of that, wrap it up, and repeat over and over and over until you fill your entire pan, just like that. And now simply take all that mess from your plate, dump it right on top of the enchiladas, everything from the cast iron pan right on top of your enchiladas, and finally the leftover enchilada sauce, just drizzle it on top. Now I apologize, I did not get a very good shot of this process. I did poor camera work.
Okay.
Would you like to give me a kiss on camera?
Oh gosh. I'm on camera. Oh, sorry. Oh.
Wait, stay there.
Oh. Don't you dare put that on film. Don't you dare.
Why?
Because my hair's
I'm going on film.
no.
Finally, we take our cheese and we put some of that over the top of the now marinated enchiladas. Listen, it's a messy process. I mean, I'm spilling on the floor right now. Got a little bit of cleanup after this is done, but you know what? It's so worth it.
So my wife begged me not to put this shot into the video because she said our oven is disgusting, but hey, what are you gonna do? Put it in at 350. You're gonna cook for about 30 or 40 minutes and you will get something that resembles this. Nice bubbly and browned beauty. So make sure you get some oven mitts, and carefully take it out, and then stare at it for 5 minutes because it's so beautiful. Let's just stare at it.
Putting a little bit of cilantro on the top to garnish, finish it off, add a little bit of color, and then cocha cheese. It's a Mexican crumbly cheese, kind of like, it's sort of like a Parmesan. So it's like a Mexican Parmesan. And put a little bit of that on. And that will be that. You can see the onion, enchilada sauce. If you dig in there, you get a little bit of beef, cheese, and green chilies, all with a corn tortilla. It's gonna be hot, I'm gonna burn myself. Incredible. In a minute. Look at that. Oh. Oh. Do it.